Let's see. What's in Variety today? I haven't looked around this weekend. Let's see. Madonna. Simon Cowell injured himself. Twitter and TikTok merger talks? Oh, that'll be interesting. Zoe calls out Hulu for lack of diverse shows. Let's check this out. I think I saw this already. Oh, if at first you don't succeed.
Ladies and gentlemen, hiss and foes, welcome to the Culture Casino!
So as many of you know, I spend time on the trade papers trying to research stories or to make sure that I have my facts correct. I try to look for financials, corroborating evidence when I do stories or when I follow up on a particular set of stories. And there's a much larger thing here afoot than Zoe Kravitz's, show or pet project, High Fidelity, being canceled from Hulu. The original movie, High Fidelity, was in 2000. It was a John Cusack vehicle. It was made by one of the Disney film production companies called Touchstone. And when it released in 2000, it barely made, I think, $17 million over its budget, maybe not even that much. It was not a well-performing movie, but it's become somewhat popular over time and a cult classic to some. It was reviewed rather highly at the time. Now, Buena Vista Distribution, which is also a Disney company, was the distributor, and they were the ones that put the film out. So pretty much this property is controlled by Disney. They optioned the rights from the original author, and I think it's a British book. But anyway, the whole concept was that John Cusack's character Rob was in this record store, and it's only loosely tied to Zoe Kravitz in that her mother was actually a part of the cast of the film, her mother being Lisa Bonet. Now, I can understand wanting to remake this project and do it better. What I don't understand is what they did to it when they decided to make it a television vehicle for Zoe Kravitz. They did what Mecha Random 42 would call a double shiny, which means they not only bent the gender of the character, they also bent the racial identification of the character. So, and that's neither here nor there, because it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that over the course of, 3 days, or 4 days, I guess, at this point, we've had 2 stories about it. One was just, the announcement that the show was being canceled, and the second one was was this one, which is calling out Hulu on the fact that they are not diverse enough, which I find funny because, again, all around this is a Disney thing. Disney was originally going to put this television program on their Disney Plus service, and of course they moved it, just like they did with Victor Victor, because it's not family oriented enough to appear on Disney Plus. So we move it over to the other thing that we own the majority's share of, which is Hulu. So, and a lot of people think that Disney owns Hulu outright now. They don't. They have a media partner. They have a media partner in a lot of things. They have partners in their theme parks, and not just the CCP. As you can see, this story is rather hard-hitting. Actually, it's probably not the right word, but it does definitely try to throw Hulu under the bus or shame them into making another season of a show that probably wasn't well received, because guess what? We don't get ratings reported on any of these programs on these streaming services. We have no idea what the net viewership is for shows like Lucifer on Netflix. We know that they pulled that property out of Fox's dustbin and cleaned it off and retooled it slightly, and we got an excellent show. In fact, we got a couple more seasons than we had probably actually anticipated, which, believe me, I'm thankful for, because I've always enjoyed the program. It's kind of a really cool take on the original comic book. But beyond that, there are other things afoot, since we don't know, as I mentioned, that what the ratings are for these shows. This particular show had to be underperforming, or they wouldn't have canceled it. It's probably cheaper to keep this thing, running than it is to try to develop something new. So it must have been bad. Netflix does that too. When they have a show that only performs for one season and it doesn't get what they expected, they just cancel it. There's no reason to reproduce another year of the programming, although some of these streaming services are so much in a bind. They're in such a bind that they have to continue to produce inferior programming on their streaming services just to have newer programming. A lot of these catalogs, these older television programs, are owned by media companies that have elected to start their own streaming services, and I'm talking about Peacock at this point. But they're all in trouble. And the reason they're in trouble is, even with the numbers that they're getting, they still have to produce content, which is incredibly expensive. These streaming services need to make a profit. Netflix would be the exception, because it seems like they are just dumping more money than you could possibly imagine into things, despite the fact that their valuation doesn't rise to those numbers. But that's neither here nor there. The real news should be, and it's not, and I'm going to get into it on Wednesday's video, that these media companies are in the position where they're restructuring their entire operation. Disney's about to have massive layoffs, so they're going to restructure much of what is going on in their studios. They're going to be hacking executive positions left and right. CBS All Access announced a couple of weeks ago, which I covered as well, that they are going to be restructuring their company, and they're rebranding their streaming service, which isn't a surprise. And HBO Max launched to some fanfare, and those numbers are starting to kick up, which is a good thing. But likely they're going to be in the same position, which is why Warner Media is now restructuring, which is going to be the big story we talk about on Wednesday. But all in all, was this a good show? Largely critical reviews. It was fair to middling, but again, it must not have had the viewership, and therefore it's canceled. But the problem is that we're always going to see these people, anybody who's trying to push this particular narrative, talking about the lack of representation. Well, my argument always has been and always will be, when you start to do this, you'll lead to over-representation. And that's what we got here. Over-representation of just not only this product, or these types of products, I should say, but over-representation in that you will have more people from minorities represented in shows than you have statistically in your country, or in the country that the productions are being done. The same thing will happen in the production staff, the people who are the writers, and everyone else in between, which is, again, not representation, it's over-representation. Which, think about this. Was that something that you ever considered when you were watching a television program? No. Were you concerned that 0.01% of the people represented on a television program were different identity sexually? Were you concerned that the persons on there were actually gay or lesbian? Was that something that entered into your mind? Probably not. Again, we're getting ridiculously low quality entertainment in pursuit of a bunch of check boxes, which seems to be a theme on my channel. I get real frustrated about this stuff. But regardless, this isn't the only show that's going to be canceled that is going to get this kind of treatment by Variety and the other trade magazines, where they're trying to purport, or they're trying to support an artist or an actor or actress in their argument that they are being culled because their skin color, their sexual identity, etc., which couldn't be farther from the truth. But anyway, I just thought I would bring this to your attention today. I think this is going to be a path of the future for these studios to get out from underneath some of these properties that were in development that they knew weren't going to generate revenue. Right now, they are in desperate and dire straits to produce products that generate revenue. Maybe we'll see some changes, but as Gary at Nerdrotic and others say, the results we won't see for another 18 months to 2 years. So, but we will start to see the culling of this type of stuff. Anyway, that's the video for today. Thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate you subscribing. We've had huge growth at this channel thanks to the guys over at Friday Night Tights, which believe me, I truly appreciate. Excellent support from the entire community, which, leaves me just astounded and overwhelmed is probably the right word. But do be sure to support other independent creators, because that's something I strongly believe in. I think that we need more voices out there that are able to communicate with you about the reasonings. We've seen such a dearth of quality in entertainment right now. So please go out and support all of the great YouTube folks that we have here in the community. And make sure you take care of yourself, take care of others, wash your hands, spend 20 seconds on that, and that's a good practice regardless of whether or not there's a pandemic. And until next time, bye.
Thanks for visiting today. Be sure you're subscribed and hit that for alerts.
Yay!
Of course, like and share all of the videos that you can, as it helps with the algorithm. Have a great day.